The movie opens as we see Madison and Scott arrive at a murder house. They both took pictures of each other and entered into the house. Scott took pictures of himself on different spots while Madison looked for the bathroom. After Madison was done using the bathroom, she looked around for Scott and then entered a room. She turned on the light and was freaked out by the Ghostface figure she saw. She then ran towards the door. On her way out, she bumped into Scott, who was bringing in their boxes. She told Scott about it, and he went to check it out. He noticed it was fake and had a motion sensor which made it react when someone passes. They went to the kitchen and Scott scared Madison with a fake knife. Just then the phone rang and Scott picked it up. They were asked 3 questions and Scott answered to right while Madison answered the third one correctly. After the call, they kissed and Scott went to the bathroom. After he left the room, Madison got a call from someone else saying she was going to die tonight. She thought it was Scott and didn't take it seriously. The call ended and she went to look for Scott. She walked into the room with the fake ghost face. She waved her hand to see if it would follow and it did. Then she stepped back and bumped into Scott with the ghost face costume on. She punched him and he took off his mask. He then noticed the fake ghost face moved by itself and he stepped closer. Just then Ghostface stabbed him, killing him and running after Madison. She climbed the steps and Ghostface followed her. Ghostface tried stabbing but she pushed both of them. Ghostface fell but Madison held on to the light. She tried going back up but her leg couldn't balance there, which made her fall down. Immediately Ghostface turned her on and positioned the knife up and she fell on top of it. Then Ghostface burned the house with Madison and Scott in it. The next scene shows Tatum in her room. Ben sneaked in and they kissed. Sydney then walks in on them and calls out Ben. Sydney told Ben to leave and Ben tried convincing her he is a good guy. Tatum was pissed and Sydney went to talk to her, telling her she wants her to be smart and they would both talk when it's morning. She went back in to be with Mark and the both talked a little and slept off. The next day Mark went to check on the construction workers and then went back in while Sydney was on FaceTime with Mark's mom and their kids. Tatum came to get her AirPods while she was putting on her mother's jacket. Sydney wasn't happy about it and Mark told her it's best she takes it off. She took it off and stormed out angrily. Then Sydney followed her and told her it's okay for her to wear it and she is sorry. She puts it on and they talked about Tatum rehearsal and then Sydney left. The next scene shows Sydney at work. Lucas walks in and ordered for espresso short. He tried talking about Ghostface, but then his mom Jessica walks in and stopped it. He then apologized and said he wanted to start a podcast before leaving for his rehearsal. Tatum met up with Chloe and Hannah. Then Ben came to pick them up. A strange man walks into Sydney's shop and took his coffee. Then Sydney took her drinks and went to sit with Lucas' mom, and they talked about their kids. The next scene shows Hannah rehearsing. She hits Tatum in a dog costume and got stuck. She requested they bring her down, and Euron came to help. Hannah called Chloe to help her. Tatum went to take off her costume and Ben followed to help her. She asked if she was timid and why Ben liked her. He answered great, and then they both kissed out. Sydney's phone rang and she picked it up. They men on the call switched to fight time and she saw Stu, who was supposed to be dead. He said he was at her daughter theater and threatened to kill her daughter. Sydney immediately called Mark and told him there is a killer going after Tatum at her high school, so he immediately started going there. Hannah was still practicing her role with Euron. He heard something and went to check it out and left Hannah on the air. Just then the lights went out and Hannah called out to Euron. Someone turned on the bright spotlight and Hannah could barely see. The hook started to move and then Ghostface came out with a knife and cut her open. Sydney came in and shot at Ghostface but he ran away. She then went to look for him and saw Euron dead on the floor. Then Tatum entered and she hugged her so she doesn't see Hannah. Police gathered everyone and started questioning them about where they were when the incident occurred. Mark and Sydney talked for a bit, then she went to get Tatum and said Ben couldn't follow. Mark brought the police into his home to check around for anything suspicious. They saw nothing and went out. That night Ghostface sneaked in. After Sydney helped Tatum leaving, Sydney told her she had to shoot Ghostface in the head to make sure he was dead, and asked him why he turned it off immediately and attacked her. Just then she realized Ghostface was in the house. Ghostface showed up. Took his gun to look for him, but Ghostface came out with a knife on Tatum. They called her and directed her on where Tatum dropped to the floor. Then he rushed and got there and saw Tatum with a knife to her throat and she pushed him down the stairs. Then Ghostface revealed himself and Tatum went to a room to doctor and locked themselves. They then tried going through another passage in between the walls to get badly wounded. Ghostface heard Ghostface revealed herself and she turned out to be Jessica, her neighbor. They talked, and while they were talking, but they finally made it out. And when Ghostface was heading downstairs, he noticed Mark was gone. And Ghostface went out the door and Mark rushed him, pushing him down. They fought, and then Sydney told Tatum and Sydney followed her into the construction room. Mark pushed Ghostface across the road, stabbed multiple times in the leg and stomach. But Jessica didn't die. Gail got down. She removed Chad and Mindy went to get the camera while Gail went to see Sydney. They looked away for a second, and Ghostface said he was Stu, but after revealing his face, they found out no one knew him. And they both shot her in the head. Sydney recognized his face and remembered he was at her shop to get police in the crime scene. Sydney talked to Mark for a bit. Chad and Mindy were still alive. She says it was too easy. There is always more than one. And Sydney talked, and then she went to look at the faces of people. Went to meet Tatum to talk to her about Chad that network texted. She was also said they wanted them to go live. And that's how her daughter came and Robbie met her to ask her some questions, but they all left. Jessica and her son Lucas went to meet Sydney to see how she is doing, and they talked for a sec, and Sydney left. They turned around and saw Gail. After that, Gail went into the house to talk with Sydney about. Mindy and Chad talked to Tatum and Mark about their news reporting career. Just then Sydney got another call from Ghostface using pretending to be Stu. He threatened to kill them and cut the call. Sydney was getting ready to leave and meet up with Gail to investigate the psychiatric hospital. Tatum wanted to go with them but Sydney said she couldn't. Sydney and Gail entered into the hospital and requested to see Carl Gibbs' room. They saw the room and saw disturbing drawings. They asked the doctor if Gibbs and Stu spent time together and he said yes. Mindy and Chad was in Tatum's home and she asked them if they were scared. They said no and they wanted to uncover the killer. They had an idea to gather everyone in one place and ask questions. Sydney agreed to have an interview with Game. Here Mark was home and he heard sounds coming from the construction site. He called out to Tatum but no one answered. He went to check it out and then Ghostface attacked him. The scene shows Tatum, Chad, and Mindy meeting up with Ben, Chloe and Lucas. They were trying to figure out who the other Ghostface are. Sydney and Gail went live and talked about Ghostface. Their plan was to hope Ghostface watches the live call Sydney. Gail then asked her some personal questions which she wasn't comfortable with so she went live. Just then Ghostface called her and said he was close to her daughter and he was going to punish her. Sydney rushed out to get to the restaurant where her daughter was. Tatum and Ben got into his car then she noticed an app opened on his laptop that could be used to generate a fake face and voice of another person. He tried to explain but she hit him with the laptop and got down from the car. Just then she saw Ghostface. Chad, Chloe, Mindy and Lucas were in the restaurant. Chloe was on the kitchen when she heard a sound. The lights went off and she saw Ghostface. She tried to escape but Ghostface caught her. They fought and she mistakenly stabbed Chad. Mindy came to help but Ghostface cut her too. Chloe ran away and bumped into Lucas. She warned him not to go in but he didn't listen then he came out with a stab. Chloe hid under the table while Ghostface looked for her. Ghostface pretended to leave the place and when she got up Ghostface attacked her and killed her. Lucas got up and Ghostface found out he was alive. Ghostface dragged him to where Chloe was and placed his head on a sharp spike where drinks came out from. Tatum was still running away from the other Ghostface and when Ben came to help but Ghostface killed him too while he was trying to explain. Tatum pushed Ghostface through the glass which triggered the alarm and she ran into her mom's shop to hide. Ghostface followed her and looked for her. Ghostface was about to leave before her phone rang. Tatum texted her mom that the killer was there and mom said a gun was in the office. When she was about leaving she turned around and saw Ghostface putting the pin to the door. She ran into her mom's office and blocked the door. Sydney could see everything going on in the shop app's office so she called Tatum and directed her on how to get the gun and use the gun. Sydney watched Ghostface movement and directed Tatum on when to shoot. She shot Ghostface and when she was about leaving Sydney told her she had to shoot Ghostface in the head to make sure he was dead. But then Ghostface got up immediately and attacked her. She fought and was about to run away when the other Ghostface showed up. They took her away and when Sydney got to the shop, they called her and directed her on where to meet them to be able to see her daughter. She got there and saw Tatum with a knife to her throat and she dropped the gun. Then Ghostface revealed himself and he turned out to be the doctor at the psychiatric hospital. The other Ghostface came in and he went to bring in Mark who was badly wounded. The other Ghostface revealed herself and she turned out to be Jessica, her neighbor. They talked and while they were talking Mark slowly cuts the tape restricting Tatum's legs. Jessica was talking closely to Tatum and suddenly Tatum headbutts her giving Sydney the chance to shoot the psychiatric doctor in the head. Jessica ran and Sydney followed her into the construction room. They fought and Sydney stabbed Jessica multiple times in the leg and stomach. But Jessica didn't die. She removed and ran towards Sydney when Tatum shot her. They looked away for a second and she was gone. Just then Jessica tried attacking them from behind and they both shot her in the head. Asterisk, the movie ends with the news crew and the police in the crime scene. Chad and Mindy were still alive. Gail allowed Mindy to go live. Gail and Sydney talked and hugged. Then Sydney went to meet Tatum to talk to her about her best who died. She was also named Tatum and that's how her daughter got the name. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.